So I remember one time when that got to a point with my relationship with Bhante. I remember clearly when I asked to see him and I didn't have a reason. When I was a Mitra convener, occasionally I would have a reason to go and see Bhante. And I really liked having a reason. I liked having an excuse. One time there was a complaint about me, for instance, by one of the Mitras. And Bhante asked to see me. And that I really enjoyed it. You know, I was completely open to what he had to say. And it was a lovely excuse to see him. I remember actually him asking to see me because I was in a really, really bad mood. And he met me just outside the LBC, I think one of my terrible moods. And he walked up to me and said, "Oh, Maitreyabandhu, can I?" And he saw immediately the state of mind I was in. And he stood back. He just took a step back away from me. And I, in my eye, sort of said, "Yeah, fair enough, Bhante, I'd do that as well." You know, it's like he immediately could see what I was in and sort of stood back from it to get a bit of space. Anyway, so there's a point where I just asked to see him, just because I wanted to see him. And I remember meeting him, going to see him in Birmingham. You know, this is when I was older and when he was, you know, older. And his eyes started to go then. And we went for a walk. It was pouring with rain. And he had this big golfing umbrella. And I particularly remember crossing the road with him and him, you know, putting his hand on my arm whilst I was holding the umbrella. The frailty of his grip. And this sense, which I've always sensed with Bhante, is mindfulness. Like when he'll walk over a curb or walk down a step, it's as if he collects all his mind just to notice that. And crossing the road, it was like this really exquisite moment of mindfulness. He just gripped my arm and said, and it was this lovely sense of his mindfulness and frailty. But then, you know, we'd go for a coffee, and we were talking about Dante, because I was reading Dante at the time. And he was talking about the Paradiso section, saying, well, it's just too much abstract theologizing for my liking. And we just have these very easy, ordinary conversations. And you really had this sense of this majesty of the man, but in a very, very ordinary way, but particularly through his mindfulness. And then later on, when he was ill, I went to sit with him for a while when he was ill. And he was in a really, really bad state. He was really quite anxious, really. He struck me as being anxious. I mean, it's a torture not being able to sleep. And it was a real torture for him. And I went to see him, and it was very, very sad to see him so ill. And I remember Kemavira was around. And, you know, Kemavira, I think, it can be difficult working for Bhante. It's very, very demanding in a certain way. And Kemavira had been working for him for a long time. And Kemavira brought me in, and then Kemavira went out to make some tea. And Bhante went in with him, and he just said, "I know you don't always feel appreciated by me. I know, but I do appreciate you very much. I don't know what I'd do without you." And it was really said with, you know, sort of full emotional way. It's very, very moving. I just said, "I don't know what I would do without you." Then he sat in the chair just over here, and he said, "Look, I can't talk. I remember trying to talk to him about the world, wasn't, you know, all the terrible things going on, and he just said, "I can't think about that now." So he said, "Why don't you read this?" And he sat in a room, and occasionally he'd sort of doze, and then he was very, very frail, almost transparent. And I don't know, you never know with this sort of thing, but I felt that he was like such a frail thing, but it was as if the whole room was alive. It was as if his psyche was now in the room, but the part of it that was actually in his body was devastated, as it were. But there felt this incredible sense in the room. I left feeling really, really well and happy, and I could see that Bhante was really unwell, and yet it felt as if there was still something there which you could sort of tune in. I felt I could tune into. What the status of that is, I don't know, but it was I found it very striking. Something alive in the room that was much, much bigger than him, but was connected with him. Whilst you have these very white hands and Bhante, sort of devastated figure at that time. Very, very moving.